Good evening and welcome everybody to the regular Gilbert Council meeting of June 10th, 2025. It is now 6:11 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Do we have a roll call, please?
Councilor Bertocci. Present. Councilor Horn.
Here.
Mayor Oberstar.
Here.
Councilor Skirvin.
Here.
Councilor Pondman.
Here. Everybody's here. Have a quorum. We can have a meeting. Now would everybody help me rise and have a pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mike, do we have any additions to the agenda?
I have several things to add. Just one quick look here. Item G, I'd like to add the permits from all the bar owners for serving alcohol outside. I gave you a separate packet with all those in there. We need to get those into the state liquor and gambling group, and they're all here, so I'd like to add that. Item H would be an easement payment regarding the Sterl lawsuit that we're currently involved in. And I need authorization to move forward with that. Reed is working on it. I'll explain it when we get there. Item I, chief teacher would like to buy a new side-by-side for the police department. They've been liquidating some of their assets. There are an explanation of the funding there that's within our budgeted parameters. We can make that happen, but it needs approval and applying for a grant for any timeline. So we're adding that on here. I gave everybody a handout on it. And then item J, Splashdown would like to come back in and be at Lake Orbegon again this year. Last year went pretty well. We had an outstanding garbage bill that's been paid, and so we'd like to move forward with that. I updated the contract and the terms, and it's in the packet. And I handed it out to you. So those are the items I would add: G, H, I, and J.
Okay, also you heard from our administrator, we add these items to the agenda, and the motion is in order. Are approved.
Did we have any things that we need to vote on from the work session?
They're on the packet. They're on the agenda. They're in whole business.
Nothing that I'm aware of, all that was put on the agenda.
Okay. I will move to approve the agenda with the additions.
Moved by Councilor Skirvin, supported by. All support. Supported by the mayor to approve those items to the agenda. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Again, I don't say nothing, but no, I say yes.
Big problem, we got it.
I say yes up here.
Yeah, I'll clear it out there.
All right. Consent agenda. Take the recommendation right after we go through the consent agenda, approval or denial.
Go ahead and move to approve the consent agenda and address the recommendation for the cemetery board next.
Motion by Councilor Skirvin, do I hear a second? I'll second again, second by the mayor. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, recommendation for the consent agenda is passed. Recommendation for the cemetery board is to give some direction to the cemetery board and to on, if the council wishes to enforce the artificial flowers be banned up at the cemetery, which has been placed on warning up at the rules and regulations for the last 30 or 40 years. I think the council has to move and give some direction to the cemetery board and the public works department on how to handle this, and I think we discussed this at the working session. So motion's in order for that.
I will go ahead and make a motion to enforce the cemetery rules as it pertains to flowers, planters, and anything that's published on the sign, but to also include that we give a public notice that we're going to start enforcement starting July 1st.
This son,
Do you want to add who came and believe him?
I don't think we need to. The city employees should be able to do that, right?
Mr. Mayor, if I may. So the rules that are published and the community give a notice of those rules right on the large placards, like a 4x5 sign at the cemetery. That's where it's indicated that there's no artificial flowers and some of the rules and regulations regarding what you can and can't place. Rule number 3 that's published there allows the cemetery sexton or city employee to remove things that are placed illegal. So folks, residents are given notice, number 1, of what's not permissible, and also given notice that those items that are not permissible may be removed by the city. So I think the city is within its right to remove those things that are improperly placed.
As I think my motion stands, that we are going to enforce the rules, but we are going to give an additional public notice that we'll start doing that. A firm enforcement of the rules starting July 1st.
Is there gonna be signage up at the cemetery also?
It's already there.
I mean, as far as we're,
The public notice.
July
that you're
1st.
referring to.
The July first,
How would you like to give the public notice? Yep.
just
I mean, we could put a sheet of paper up in the bulletin boards, we can do a Facebook notice. I'm happy to work with you.
but no sign right up there at the cemetery.
I don't think
There's a lot of out-of-town people that
We
are
already have a sign at the entrance to the cemetery.
I'm saying July 1st is gonna be enforced, that's the sign I'm talking about.
I think we should put something up on the building up there, or some signage up there. A sandwich sign even.
Sure.
A sandwich sign, you can get a sandwich sign made up. They're not $75 for a sandwich sign. You know what I mean? Did I second that motion? They go along with the consent agenda, they're gonna take the recommendation right afterwards, so I'm still on second on that motion as well. Right?
Well, my motion for the recommendation doesn't have a second.
That's what I'm talking about, it should be me, because I okayed the purpose, this to be dealt with after the consent agenda. Did you vote? Okay, move by the second by me. And then have, you okay with the sandwich line?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Good? Good? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. All right, number 4, public input. Anybody in the audience tonight have anything they wish to discuss with the council other than what's on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, hearing none, move on to reports with mayor and council. Councilor Fontaine, you have anything?
Yeah, just one small item here on, we had in our utility building, we had a paper with a large trash pickup. There's just a typo error on it, I'm just advising the public that the first day of pickup is June 23rd, as it states a couple sentences above there. So I'm just making a public statement that the first day of pickup is June 23rd, not the 3rd. Just a typo. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Skirvin?
Just a couple of small things. Just so everybody knows that the 3rd of July committee put out their list of events and stuff like that for the week. I did notice that they were incorrect from our last meeting on when the cube parade is. I've been communicating with them, let them know that we decided that it was 11 o'clock for the cube parade and at noon for the races, so they're gonna make that change, so. The other thing is, it's actually a question for Mike. Is it possible that I can get a list of all of the commissions and their, like, who's on them and an updated list? I think we need to be able to start going out and recruiting for the empty positions. We've got several of them, and we have to know what's open and what's not. So, and then actually jumping off your one. So just a general question. So we put flyers in our utility bills in the printed ones. How do we give notice to citizens for people who are signed up for electronic billing?
I think they
He got it.
I think.
Yeah, I get one, and I'm on PSN, but I always get a paper form too.
I think they send out the early, but I could be wrong.
No, I haven't
So-
received one.
If you have e-billing set up, you don't get any notices from the city, because I also have that issue.
Well, so we should just think about
Well, the solution to that.
yeah, I don't know what possibilities we have, but like I said, I would like to hear from you if there is a way of capturing those folks who are signing for electronic billing, because we may be missing, thinking that we're sending out a notice, utility bills.
I get one, I do my bill. Even though it's paid like PSA.
Yeah.
I get the.
It's weird normally because they don't have PSA and they got notice. I don't know what to say. Maybe there's a checkbox. I don't need any written bill sent to me because I'm doing my electronic. I don't know. But I'll find out. Yeah.
I'd like to know how,
Yeah.
what's the scope of the issue, and then how to resolve it.
I'll check on the notification process.
That's it for me.
All right, Councilor Warren?
I just have one thing tonight. Some people may be aware, but yesterday in Hoyt Lakes around 4:22 p.m., there was an ATV incident. I was part of that riding group. Me and 4 buddies were riding, and unfortunately, the conditions were not ideal for the trail that we were on. My buddy is currently in Duluth Hospital emergency room right now. So I just want to let everyone know, no matter how many years experience you have out there on the trails, drive safe, wear protective gear. Thankfully, we had helmets, we had gloves, we had jackets. He, thankfully is doing well, but it could have been a lot worse. So those of you who love to ride as much as I do, just make sure that you're, taking the time and protecting yourselves. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Bertocci?
I think one of the things I want to bring up tonight is blanketism. I walk around Gilbert, I drive around Gilbert, and there are parts of town that don't look really well. Different neighborhoods. We do an abatement now. And how long does that abatement take if we notify somebody? And we could drive up the street and see grass this tall in some places. 2 houses up from you. And brush over there. We're going after one now. What does it take do we have a blight officer?
Well, we don't necessarily assign glass, we assign officers to do it for both communities. We have a hearing coming up, the next council may be provided, we brought up for tonight, I spoke to you, we have a court trial plan.
Pardon me, excuse me. I've been watching these on TV, and we need to get that table a mic. Council is doing fine, but that table and the podium is doing fine, but we need to get some better mic for you guys to. I did not hear you on TV. Get started. All right.
So we started with blight season, and we have several properties coming up. The one thing we concentrate on right now is the long grass, because we're trying to get clean for the 4th of July, the grass. Generally, we get about a 50 to 75% compliance on the grass. In fact, it's ironic. 5 minutes ago, our officer just went to a house on Main Street to deal with the grass complaints. So we're trying to get the grass first, and then we're stacking up the other ones. Like I said, we'll have a hearing for this first one, we'll see how it goes. And depending on how that works, we're hoping to stick with that because we're dealing with court cases. It was supposed to take place in June. We got kicked out till August again. We wrote that citation in June of 2024. So,
This one that's going to be.
that's the one too, and we're going through the payment, just try to push it through because it's so bad. So this is where we're at with, and that's what that letter that we presented to Mike, we'll put it in the next council packet. We'll have a hearing, I think, before the meeting, or it can be, it depends. We can do it at 6 o'clock too, whatever works, whatever the council chooses. And that abatement, then we'll have the city go down and start to clean on it. So, I know this individual will be showing up at the council meeting, with probably other people too. So this will be a good test run for us to see how it works. We just started doing it in Wabic. We've been having decent success with it. Problem with it is we're having issues with especially type of narcotics related individuals that some of our biggest problems in town. Within 2-3 weeks, we're back in the same process going through it again. So, but we're trying to hit the big major properties. This next one will be the big test. There'll also be, I'm anticipating probably 3 letters sent out that have been sent out since June 1st. Mostly long grass and a couple of the problem ones on Iowa Avenue, Lower New York, New Jersey, or I'm sorry, New York West, stuff like that. So, so we are trying to deal with that. It's kind of become a big thing. Between that and of course the traffic on Main Street, so, but that is being dealt with. So you will see more coming from the council.
What about the cars that just keep parking on the sidewalks? You remember years ago, the room up in Hopkins Park that was parked there that you had removed after a while?
Yep.
And the one that's been parked there forever.
So, yeah, so what happens is we do the court case, the problem is then they're,
Can't we just ticket?
we can write a ticket, but the problem is it's on their property as opposed to the court processing.
But it's not, it's on city sidewalk.
Okay, where's this at? Is it 219 Nebraska?
Hopkins Park.
It's across the sidewalk?
Yeah,
Okay, right time, yeah, we can deal
and
with
there was
that.
that park. Couple cars blocking the sidewalk all the time.
Yeah, we can deal with that, yeah, we'll deal with that, yeah.
Is that a ticketing thing or,
We ticket and 36 hours later we tow it. So,
you know, what if they move it off the next day and then we come back at night and do that?
we have to wait, we can write our ticket for it, and then
Is there a fine on that ticket or is it just?
$20. So, and they don't have to pay it, they have no requirement to pay it, we have to take in collections because it's an administrative fine. So then we have to pay for which we don't get money out, we just have to take the collections. And a lot of those people we never collect because it goes to collections, so especially mental problems.
So the abatement would take months in order to get.
No, we can take care of the problem, and then we send an invoice out, the city sends an invoice out. They have 3 days to pay the invoice, they don't pay the invoice, then we can put that on the property taxes. That's for blight, that's not for parking.
Correct.
Yep.
So then who would clean up the blight?
The 2 options you have is you can have a city crew do it, that's what we're gonna do with the first one, just because it's such a big job with these orders and stuff. And then we can contract it out, we can find a contractor for it, that has to be licensed, bond and stuff like that.
So the contractor comes in, the cost to us for that contractor hiring would get retained by the property owner?
Yep,
And
and
would go on.
we started that by Wabic, the couple of projects we've done are actually on tax court, but a couple of those are over $3,000 for cleanup. So the city won't see that money for 7 years, more than likely, because it's gonna go on
Eventually we'll see it.
at some point, yes. Yep. So, and we don't do that at the city, that's with the certification.
So if we go by a place and Ray Landers down and give it to you, that you can investigate it and find out whether it's eligible for abatement or.
Yeah, pretty easy, we just take pictures, we send a letter out. If the there's no response from the letter, then we do the abatement. We used to write tickets, now we're trying to abate their side of things.
Because some of the houses are abandoned and somebody from out of town owns it, and it just sits there.
And then the other problem we're having now is some of the houses that are tax forfeit are owned by the county, so we're trying to get the county to come mow it for us. And, because they have a crew that goes around, because there's so many tax forfeited properties, they're only getting around once or twice a year to mow. So, because the county's dealing with so many tax forfeited properties. So, but after 7 years, it becomes an owner of the county, and the county is responsible to mow on.
So if we mowed, we can build a county?
Doesn't work exactly like that.
Okay.
So the abatement date is that November 1st, but the county has to be notified that there's gonna be a tax on the property. Is it November 1st?
I don't do that, so.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may, as long as we're on the blight, blight is a very difficult thing, to get through the courts these days. There was some talk, or some momentum for a while in the courts about having basically kind of connecting with the housing court, and the blight court, where it wouldn't be like the treatment courts that you see, but it would be a dedicated calendar that would have all of the blight citations, so that a judge or a magistrate could kind of get familiar and follow those things through. Unfortunately, that kind of lost traction, and there's a few of us as city attorneys that are trying to push it and get it started again. The trouble with the blight citations, unfortunately, is you get a blight citation on a master criminal calendar, and it's with a couple of gross misdemeanor DUIs and domestic assaults, and so by the time the courts get to the blight citations, they kind of get pushed with it. So.
I just thought it'd be nice to get some of the cities to clean up because there's
I'm
a lot of that.
gonna add on Rudy's, topic here. So what are we gonna do with the grass situation? We have tons, many places of long, tall grass. And we've handled them before on Iowa, I know. I've got calls on a bunch of Main Street track that look bad. And, what is our recourse? We're not gonna wait till next year, or 2 years from now, get more.
Well, it's the same thing, if the council wants to have a dedicated council night just for blight every 2 weeks or once a month, we can do that. We can put the letters out within 14 days, we can set a court date for a court to go before you, and we can push it through if the council want to do that. I can bring 50 letters to you if you guys want to hear, let's say 25 cases a night.
Well, for grass you're talking about?
Yeah, I can write a ticket for it, but again, it's a civil citation. They're not gonna cut any sooner, so we try to work with them to try and encourage, like, hey, we're trying to get things for the 4th of July, make it work, man, just get it cut. But yeah, we still have to go through the process, we just can't go on and move along. So.
But how many tickets can you give one out every day?
I don't know if I can give a ticket every day.
Theoretically, the answer to that question is yes, because blight conditions are considered continuing violations, which means that every day that it exists is an additional violation.
So they say we give one up every day, how much is the ticket? $50?
20.
20?
For parking, it's 20, I think for long grass, it's either 50 or 75, I'll have to look.
I think we should give one every day, that might push the envelope for these people to get this thing.
We can certainly do that, yeah, we can certainly do that.
I to clarify, do you guys start that process only on complaint from a citizen, or do you guys do that on your own patrols? You make
So by Wabic does on citizen complaints, we do it ourselves generally.
Okay.
Yes, so.
I just don't want to flood your department with a bunch of citizens complaining.
Yeah, and up until last year, I would always give a council kind of a spreadsheet of all the properties that we blight on, because I think when you're really 50 some properties. But yeah, if the council will do the abatements, we can have a court, I can say court, but you can have a hearing here where you guys basically hold court, make a decision on what we do, and give us a draft of what you want us to do for the cleanup. So, and we try not to do that because I know you as councils get a lot of pressure. You deal with the complaints and people get upset with you guys. There's a couple of individuals that I do have some concerns about that, we will make sure that we deal.
I would like to see a ticket every day, and if they wanna get up to $200, to come down here and we'll settle it.
Okay, we'll still write tickets every day,
Somebody's gonna start cutting the grass.
Yep.
I mean, what is wrong with asking somebody to cut their grass?
Things have changed, people don't take pride they used
I
to.
mean, it's not fair to the neighbors at all, and let alone this eyesore we have down in New York Avenue, it's terrible. Deal with that.
That'll be dealt with at the next council meeting, as long as the council sets a date for it.
As long as we're on this now, on the main street, the old Bates garage. Was that covered, the pigeon holes that were,
What's the base garage?
Carl described it to him again.
It's the one where the roof collapsed.
Oh, okay, so it's a sound, it's sound, okay, yeah.
Did we ever do anything with?
So we are working with Brian now, we're working on 4 properties. The property that's 1 block down here, the 700 block, which is the second to last house on the right. We have the individual that was deceased for about a month up on Wisconsin. That one we're gonna try to take down too. And then this one's the newest one. So, and like we talked about, we have to come to the building official to deem it. So we've spent some money on that. So
300 Wisconsin Avenue, there's one up there.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah, that was individual deceased for about a month.
Okay, I guess we're seeing, seeing that you are very busy. Light officer was in a huge topic 3-4 years ago here.
It's a top area wherever you see, Evelyn now Chris paying $50,000 a year. They contract with them, they hire somebody to do like $50,000 a year. So, and they're having some issues. So I've actually met with their blade officer before to try to get some ideas. They actually use one of our body cameras for enforcement because of some issue that he's had. We put some top $50,000 are spending for light enforcement. Yeah. So
You want to take a bait on.
well, if you want to go for blight, I guess, but I don't know if you're gonna find somebody to do it, because I can tell you, he's pretty much up to his.
This is a big topic. Many years ago.
Every city's dealing.
Right, it's a big topic many years ago here in Gilbert, light officer, money, budget, blah, 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 never happened. Plus, the safety of the person was, there's all kinds of things to discuss on. It's not a big deal. I mean, this small thing is a big deal.
It's a big, they always say speeding and parking and blight are the big issues in a small town. I mean, they don't see the other stuff, nobody cares that, we 2 stories sees 2.5 homes of meth, because nobody sees that, but the blight and the grass is what they see, so yeah, absolutely, and we have time to do it, LLP didn't have time to deal with this, so that's why they're contracting out for $50,000 to do it. We have the time to do it, now we feel we've got a process going to work, it's just as long as the council's willing to do the hearings for us, we can push through it, and how much the city crew can do and how much we contract out, we can probably contract some out. But as soon as you give us the order, if you deem that to abate the property, the next day we go on that property and clean it up. So, and that's what we plan on doing for our first test property is that we're doing our worst one, so.
So I did have a question about, because you're the closest to this. I'd like to see some more kind of deeper data behind what's going on. Are these properties absent landlords? Are they rental properties? Are there things that are causing them to fall into disrepair and lack of maintenance? The reason why I ask that is if we can find out better information about this, then we as a council can start thinking about ordinances that can help with enforcement and hopefully avoid these problems in the future. Because code enforcement really is the big key around how do you prevent these properties and these situations from happening.
Sure, so, and I don't have some latest numbers, but at the time when I did the study for Gilbert, when 7% of our rental property, we had 7% of our properties were rental. This would have been back in 2012. Of the narcotic search warrants we did 33 search warrants in our community. 30 of them were at the rental properties. 56% of our disturbances in the residential areas were rental properties. Unfortunately, the blight, it's not that high. We're looking at probably around 20% of the rental properties are blight. The rest are privately owned homes. Older people, we're doing some market reports, which is the Minnesota Adult Abuse Reporting Center. On a property on Northern Minnesota, we have an individual who's elderly, can't take care of the property. We'll just say that there's been animals urinating and defecating inside the house for years. It's now leaked to the outside, so now we have the health department involved. But again, it's a process. I wish I could sit there, but the only time I can really deem a property is an emergency base where we go on and take care of is if we see rats, and we don't really have rats. So, then it becomes a health issue.
It would just be helpful if that could be part of helping us explore.
I can try to come up with some numbers. I'm gonna have to see what are rental properties. We have a pretty good idea of where rental properties are.
Yeah. And I mean, I understand a lot of them are private homes, and if we can figure out what is going on before they become blighted properties, maybe we can get ahead of the curve a little better.
All All right. Okay, I have a couple of things. Parade, kitty parade, the Gilbert function. We neglected to put in a utility bill asking for money for the kitty parade, and I talked to Mr. Addy, who was handling the money part of the kitty parade, which will, hand over the money to me. And once I get the volunteers to help on that day, but he'll get the money to me. Because he's short of some money, so I'm asking the public to, don't forget the kitty parade, which we do the races for the kids in town, also needs donations. And to go to the bank if you would, and if you'd like to, please give a donation under the kitty parade. So he's got to short some money, less than $1,000, and hopefully we can make that up in the next couple of weeks here. We should have had both for the 3rd of July and for the kitty parade flyers in the utility bill. We didn't have to do that. And I also be asking the fire department for help to put on the kitty parade. Do we have a permit yet on that? Ty?
You're applying for them, so I don't foresee us not having them.
We don't foresee it. I've been afraid because we have a big situation here this year with our traffic.
Well, we usually apply for permits in the end of May, and we did this year the same thing. And we actually got the permit 3 days after the parade, so.
You're not gonna have somebody ask you about some signs, are you? Like you did a couple of years ago?
I'll just say a line, we're not spending $35,000 on signs. I don't think it's, I'm actually working with, a legislator to try to change the law with that. Whereas if you're holding an event of parade, that we're not required to have class 3 barricades. So we're to try to
4 years ago,
work around that, because we're not, it's about $5,000 rent a year, or 30-some thousand rent them, and
4 years ago, we almost didn't have a parade because of that.
yes, but I feel that we put squad cars into our routes and stuff. There are issues with the side things. So I went and grabbed data from several other cities, and they don't use any barricades off of Highway 2, Highway 169, and I just said, why is Gilbert we take more precautions than anybody else to why we get seen well. It's because and we've got engineer chances are. So that's the reason. So
Everything will be.
Power uses people for barricades. Right? I'm not kidding.
You feel everything will be fine. Another thing I got, before I get into this other topic, Paul, there's one issue not on our agenda that we took from the minutes from the prior meeting was Ty. We've been asked to block off for a street dance for the 4th and the 5th. And we talked 4th and the 5th.
The 5th round, that's good.
On the 5th?
Yeah,
Those bars want the 4th, these bars want the 5th.
They don't want to compete.
and we've talked up here at council that we say we pick one or the other, 4th or the 5th, but have them both dances on the same night. What do you think about that? You've got no people, correct?
That's up to the council to decide. It's going to cost a little time.
What did you think? We thought they pick either the 4th or the 5th, both parties.
Yes, I think it should be one night. Yes.
One night, both parties.
I would probably agree with MnDOT. MnDOT made an issue. I think they have a pretty legitimate complaint. That we have 2 nights of street dances. I don't necessarily agree with that. So.
That's what
It's like, what if the alibi isn't, are they wrong with the dates, or they're on, they wanna have it on something?
They want to have it on the 5th. I know that Morehouse, they want it on the 5th too. They don't have a phone notice. They get it the next day. They also want it on the 5th.
Also consensus was to have it either day, whether they pick one of the days, 4th or the 5th, period.
It just need to be one of the days. I only just pull there for the 4th and the 3rd.
Is there a cost difference to your department one day or over the other? That would be due to the city of Gilbert.
Yes, but the 4th is more expensive because of holidays, you're paying double time and a half for a couple extra officers. So that's right there is probably additional, I think, $800 to $1,000, just guessing.
So, one thing, I think these barn owners are aware that Evelyn usually, draws everybody from Gilbert, so I don't know if there's gonna be a conflict with Evelyn because
Evelyn is on the
third.
Evelyn has over a period of time, they've gotten smart at siphoning people away from our 3rd of July.
Yeah.
They actually, their vendor contracts for, if you're gonna vend at the Evelyn parade, you have to vend at the 3rd for the street dance, which basically takes all of our vendors away from our parade.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we have to block the entire Main Street out for both nights because in order to meet the MnDOT's requirements on the, because now it's a truck route, we used to always send them down Nebraska, we have to send them on shirts, we have to block the entire Main Street both nights. And I don't know if MnDOT would be, I mean, it's up to the council, I just, it's gonna cost, I mean,
So you've already pulled permits for the 4th and the 3rd?
I pulled permits for the 3rd and the 4th, correct?
Okay.
For approval of the 5th, I would have to submit another permit.
If the council directs me to follow up with our owners and tell them that we're not doing 2 nights because of our traffic issues.
Yeah, and I would,
You guys.
we pay $600 a year for liquor licenses, and part of that money goes to pay for the street dance, stuff like that. 2 nights worth, I just, you burn that $600 up in 2 nights, I can tell you that, for each bar is only, 7, 8 bars. I mean, it's up to the council,
Yeah, we don't need a consensus here. I'm looking for a motion here now, and I'll step off the chair, make a motion that we only allow the street dance on the 4th, and since you got the permit for the 4th, you would probably get one for the 5th, correct?
I have to reapply for one for the 5th, correct? And that, it isn't costing, but.
Let's give the optional, the 4th or the 5th, their option on the bar owners to pick that date.
Before you so looking through all the applications, they are the only one who applied for the 5th for liquor license. Everyone else is the 3rd and the 4th, including the Gladiator, including Warehouse. So I do believe that the other people on that end of the street are not planning on participating on the 5th.
Okay, 3rd and the there's no street dance on the 5th.
And the other thing, if you like, so a few years ago, and I think maybe Councilor Bertoshnik or council member was dealing with bars about, what the 3rd of July has always been a community dance. And then we decided the street dance was also kind of part of the community stuff. And I think if the council approves the 3rd and 4th for the street dance portion, if the alibi wants one on Saturday, then I guess my thing would be they can pay for the 2 officers overtime and everything else. So if they want to pay for that outside of it, because I don't know that the city should be paying for 2 nights of street dance. I mean, the 3rd of July, I guess, it's a community celebration. We kind of agreed with the liquor license fees when they went up a few years ago that we covered the street dance that one night. The bars will start asking for street dances every month, and we have to have people blocking traffic.
You have the parade in the morning as well on the 4th, that you have to get a permit for.
Yes.
So the motion is to keep your permit for the 3rd and the 4th. That's it.
And if they want to come, I can talk to one of the Albite, they want to do a presentation next council meeting, we can. I don't know that the council, the city wants to get into the business of providing law enforcement for not just one street dance, so I don't know that.
You walk back and forth here, having one night, so we've had it one night before.
You've got
So-
two hands that open.
Yeah.
So if you have a motion,
That's my motion.
no question. So if we have it on the 4th,
Wait a second.
I'll second it. That's
Okay, for discussion.
Yeah, for discussion. So if we have it on the street dances on the 4th, Wabac has their parade. So staff-wise, are you gonna be able to cover events in Gilbert and in Guelph.
Yes, so the reason why we can do that is, after our 3rd of July, we usually provide an officer or two to, Evelyn, for the street dance when the fights start breaking out, usually have between 20 and 30 fights. So we'll just send 2 or 3 officers over there for 2 hours to clear out their party. So in return, they come over on the 4th, because they have nothing going on the night before. They'll send 2 officers over this year to help block traffic out while we're at the parade, and once we conclude the parade at 9 o'clock, then everybody goes back to their own areas.
Okay, so it's kind of a mutual aid.
Yeah, we just kind of parent share, they need help on us, on the 3rd, we need help on the 4th.
Then I'm pretty set on the 3rd and 4th.
Motions for the 3rd and 4th. 3rd and 4th, that's no 5th. The 5th is not in the equation here.
Correct. Yeah, and council, if they're interested in doing something like that, it'd be about $1,140 if they wanted to pay for the officers.
Yeah, but you don't have time to put a permit in for that.
I can put it, I can put it.
Somebody can make a motion for the 5th, but my motion is only for the 3rd and 4th only. You can make another motion after my motion. Because, but I'm not agreeing to add the 5th into this right now. Okay, all in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. 3rd and 4th. My last thing I want to talk about is apologize to the public here. We have these frequent power outages going on. And I know, for me, I'm frustrated with them. It is not a Gilbert issue. I just want to bring that out. I'm pretty sure they're all Minnesota Power, correct, Mike?
They have been.
Because many years ago, we took upon ourselves here also to put a new substation in that was causing problems. But there are businesses that, and everybody's got CPAP machines and maybe oxygen machines and the businesses that need power. And we try to minimize our power outages. Some things we can't handle. I mean, we can't handle lightning and stuff like that, but right now, for some reason, we're getting these frequent outages. And I'm frustrated, I'm sure you are too, in Gilbert. And I just want to say, it's not Gilbert's fault. We are not getting the power. I got people from Midway, I know, though they're out of power, they got nothing to do with Gilbert power. So it's not Gilbert's fault. What can we do about it? Send a letter to Minnesota Power. Why is this happening so often? People in Gilbert depend on the power, and we do with them. I don't know this. I just want to let people know this. Don't blame, have us do something. There's nothing we can do except tell Minnesota Power, please handle, get to the bottom of your outages and please fix them so we don't have as frequent outages as we are having. I just want to get that clear. Anybody else okay with that, Joe? This is getting out of hand. And I don't see a storm. I don't know if there's a squirrel or something going on, whatever. But they should get it fixed. I was hoping they would get it fixed. But please don't call City Hall or any of us why what's going on. It's out of our control. All right, now we can get to the rest of the meeting. Fire Chief, you have anything else that we want to add?
Just a quick update since I'm here. Since last meeting, we've had 4 calls. Am I not loud enough? With 4 calls with one of them being a fatality. I just want to let the public know these cliff diving is dangerous. Please stay away from there. It's no fun. It's no fun responding to a call like that for any emergency responders and the public and your family. So please stay away from them cliffs. I do request, if I can get, Bob made a request of our meeting minutes. If I can get all your emails, I can email that to you after each meeting that we have, monthly meeting.
I'll forward it to you tomorrow. When you send those out, please do them as a blind carbon copy, so we don't break the open meeting law.
Gotcha. I'll also email you all that packet that Carl had on his desk there that he was talking to you guys about. The study that we had a few years back for the fire department. So that's all I have. Anyone have anything else for me?
Anybody, more questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to get that, microphone back from here. Thank you. Lee. I don't have to go back to Matt. We gotta get that fixed, these microphones. Okay? What it takes, batteries or whatever. But on TV, though, they don't work except for that podium and these up here work. Okay, city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. No formal report, but I am happy to field questions if there are any from the council.
I actually do have a question, related to, the fire department report. So with the latest incident, at the Genoa pit, that's all within the city limits of Gilbert, my vague recollection was about 3 or 4 years ago, we were required to replace the fencing, on Gilbert property around, the Genoa pits and the, Lake Barn. Now, you probably don't know all the details, but as far as the city's liability for that, where do we stand and where are your areas of concern?
So, without getting too much into the specific facts of this case, what I can relay is that the city has taken unbelievable efforts to try to keep folks from cliff jumping in those areas. Number one, we put up fencing as quickly as the city can put up fencing. There's groups that will tear down the fencing, cut through the fencing, go over the fencing. We went on a campaign, an enforcement campaign, a couple of years back, Chief, where we issued, I think, close to 100 tickets. And we actually had very large groups of folks coming to court, all the way from Superior and Duluth in the metro area. And I know that we've regularly attempted enforcement campaigns through those cliffs. It's no secret in the city of Gilbert that you're not supposed to be jumping at those cliffs to a certain extent and to a large extent because we've taken reasonable efforts to try to prevent folks from going in there. It's an assumption of the risk type situation. I mean, if you go in there and you're cliff jumping outside of the city's permission and with knowledge that the city doesn't permit you to go in there and that you're trespassing when you do it, you assume the risk that's attendant to the activity that you're engaged in. So that's the simple answer. There's a much larger, longer answer, but generally the city is engaged in reasonable efforts to try to thwart and prevent those activities from happening, and everything that we've tried is been overcome.
Along with that, last year, because of the already on water level, we invited the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust into town, and they looked at our signage everywhere on all the hazards that we have in town and approved that we had adequate signage everywhere in the community. They will be coming back this year. So we annually invite them in to do a risk assessment, and if they said we need a sign here, we need to do this over there, we would follow through on that. So,
What's the largest civil penalty fine that we can give for trespass activity?
Generally, it'd be a misdemeanor trespass citation, and the maximum fine would be 90 days jail or up to $1,000 a fine. And the likelihood that we could ever convince a penalty that stiff to be handed down from the court is fairly unlikely. Generally, you're looking at a fine somewhere around $300 and potentially some probation, but you're probably not looking at a lot of jail time.
I know in the past, the other fee owners own that property, and they've been repairing the fences for decades.
That's what I was
Because
gonna
there's
mention,
been deaths of the-
RGGS, I believe.
No, it's the fee owners, it's not RGGS. And they've been repairing it for years at their expense. So that's,
I can
Well,
tell
I
you,
know.
I went down 3 different trails to try to find the access to the survivor, and all 3 of them access points, the fences was cut and pulled back.
yeah. And I know the person that, from the other fee owners, and we've talked about this many times, and they'll have a fencing company come in and repair the fences, and then a week later they're cut. But that's been the history of the repairing of the fences.
So I'm glad you brought this up, because this was something I wanted to discuss, and I slipped my mind. In Sparta, the access is limited now with a bunch of berms up. Thankfully, and I thank Bronson Excavating, I made a phone call to Sean during the incident, asked if he had anyone that could bring a backhoe, real-tired backhoe in to knock some berms down so we can get the rescue squad in there with a boat for the rescue. And thankfully he did, but we lost about 45 minutes. And, that's time is money. If there's an access point to that where we can maybe get a gate put up so we can get in there, a locked gate, instead of having a big room, that would be fantastic.
Was there a key problem with the railroad, on the
No.
railroad side?
Them were open.
Or those were open up by the railroad tracks?
Yeah, they were shut, but the lock wasn't locked.
Oh.
And we have master key if need be, but we didn't need it.
That's why I have a question, doesn't the rescue squad have an inflatable raft that you could just take?
So do we.
Pardon?
So do we.
Could you just take that in by hand where you didn't have to knock the berms down?
Yeah, at first, yeah, but not in the recovery stage.
Okay.
And the inflatable raft that we have doesn't, and the one that the rescue squad had doesn't have a motor on it.
Oh.
And they were actually,
So did you access that pit road?
yes,
Oh.
pit road, and we ended up getting some of the berms on there, but we still had to carry quite a few people to try to carry that boat back a little bit more, so
So
get better access.
I believe RGGS was on the pit road side, but the other side, where they're always cutting the fences, is that
Yes,
was
that was, yeah, that's okay.
properties, that they take care of fencing there. But on this side, you would have to ask RGGS if you could not have the berms, I believe,
Yeah,
because it's their property,
but I don't know, Mike, is that something that can be asked?
These are in the city of Gilbert limits, but they're not all the way to the city of Gilbert.
No.
Okay, so there's a big difference.
And just, we're faced with a tragic loss of life that shouldn't have happened. And I don't know what the solution is, but like getting people to, and as a teenager, I was just as guilty. I went and jumped fences. I went into the areas that I shouldn't have gone. There is an attraction to those things, but there's got to be a solution out there somewhere, and maybe it's a couple of different things or many different things. But I don't know if adding additional deterrence or something. But somebody died, and it shouldn't have happened.
I believe it's the third death.
Yeah.
Might even be fourth.
There's a spot in East Duluth called the Deeps, which everyone jumps off off the cliffs into the river there. And in the last 30 years, I think they've lost 12 people. This happens everywhere. So, you do your best, but it's an education thing. It's up to their parents to take that teachable moment, friends and parents, and say, hey, we lost a friend, that's probably not a good idea to do that. So it's a tough situation.
I'm open to any ideas that any of the public have. It's happened over and over again. There's no reason for it.
And Mayor Council, I am working with them with fielders. So Dan England used to be in charge. He's retired for about 1.5 years now. And I've been meeting with, it's Rob Bigelow, who is now in charge of the fee owner's office. A couple things we're gonna work on is, ironically, the St. Louis County mine inspector's been around more because now that Menorca is no longer an active mine, they are now in charge of that mine also. So they're gonna spend more time here because of the fencing issue. We're gonna put in a boat landing in that one spot to make it more accessible for emergency services off of the tracks. As far as Council Pond said, it's been years that they try to fix the fence and everything else. Sometimes they put the berms in, causes more problems for us than the people that are going back there. So we don't have an enforcement plan for out there, other than potentially putting a camera system up there, which will be the cost of the fee owners. I think the reality is we had the 48 thefts and all the vehicle thefts now in Oregon. We put an option of overtime. We hit it hard. That's when we wrote the hundreds of citations. And it quieted down for a couple of years. Now all of a sudden we're having issues again. And we can't afford to babysit these mine pits. So we're trying to work with LFIOS, putting a camera up there so our people out there, we can drive out to write the citations. Generally, when tickets get out, Facebook is our worst enemy, but it can also be your best friend. That's why I got popular. That's why we're having stolen vehicles from St. Paul up here. And they're to steal a vehicle from Gilbert, drive back to St. Paul. By hitting them hard with those citations, stuff like that changed the travel plans of these people. Now, unfortunately, that's been a year or two. Like you said, the Explore Minnesota has it on their website, and guess what? We're seeing an influx of people from Carlton, Moose Lake, just in the last 2 weeks. So we're going to try to concentrate on that, but then again, we're trying to concentrate on blight, and then of course now we're dealing with trucks that are in the street, so we're trying to spend more time in the street. So it's just a busy time of year. But we're gonna try to get it out if we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your response, and first responders and the fire department who responded there. Too bad that we weren't successful, it's too bad. It should never happen with the I see there's efforts to try to minimize it for another time, but I think get the fence going, I don't know. You gotta do it. Lake Worthy, the city crew, I know I've seen them, we fixed the fencing almost, Lake Worthy, that's our property over here, so. All right, anything else for city attorney? I know I got a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to remember it now. All right, do we go back to chief teacher? Anything else for?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I guess as far as Oregon stuff, we've been dealing with a homeless population the last couple of weeks now. Now the trains are coming back north. They used to get off in Virginia, but the trains are stopping in International Falls. They're still making their way back on here. We're trying to provide assistance to them. We're finding that on poor weather days that they're staying in the dugouts down here. We've been trying to find them other places to stay, but Bill's house in Virginia has been full. But we have approximately 6 to 8 homeless people living on Oregon, and then about 4 to 6 people living out in the general pit area. I'm working with the LFE office to try to clean up some spots out there. And there's been a little bit of a gathering spot out there. So not that we've had a whole lot of issues, we've been dealing with some homeless issues. And we can't try to trespass in our dugouts. We're just pushing them out of our dugouts and our city buildings at night. They can stay in the bank up here, the ATMs and stuff. And we're not dealing with that until we make complaints. So we're trying to deal with that in a very sensitive manner with some of the homelessness. And then the only other thing I have is obviously the detours changed. I'm going to be meeting with MnDOT next week. You may have seen my squad car sitting on 53 and 37. I'm trying to get data. The trucks are coming down, so the first day we had a detour, I think I sent messages out to everybody, texted them. We had 567 trucks last Tuesday come through. Yesterday we had 437 trucks come through. Generally we have between 80 and 105 trucks go through prior to that, if you go back to April. There's not as much border traffic coming out of Canada now, so there's about 20% less trucks coming across the Canadian border, so we're getting a little reprieve. That's probably 6 of those trucks a day. We're seeing between 7:30 a.m. And 6:30 PM, we're averaging about one truck every 41 seconds coming through town as an average. The one thing I'm working on right now is with the detour stuff is the point of the detour is because it kind of sneaks back behind Evelyn. I've been taking video with my body camera at the 37 and 53 interchange. One of the things you'll notice is when the trucks come down from the northbound ramp, they're having to slow down, and in order to make that turn at the bridge where they're building the bridge, they use 2 lanes of traffic. So that means when they make the turn, they're slowing traffic down, where the truck's able to continue straight through. I think it's a better flow of traffic. And if there's cars turning to go southbound, that truck, some of those trucks have a hard time making the corner. I make a recommendation to MnDOT and meet with them and ask them what their purpose is for the truck route to go through here. Is because I don't think that, obviously we don't want to have trucks come through town, we don't want that. But I think if you look at the intersection, I think there's more issue with those trucks making the turns than there are if they just go straight through. So I'll meet with MnDOT to try to alleviate the truck traffic. It's probably not going to go anywhere, but I think it's a video that I've been documented and just shows those trucks are slowing traffic down northbound. Southbound, I don't really have a leg to stand on. I think that it's but I think that that way it is causing an issue for us. So I'll report back to the council on that information. So.
What has the backup issue been on, like, Fridays and like the big coming up north days?
So what you're seeing is, so you have about 12,000 vehicles coming northbound on Friday. It actually could be as high as 15,953. What's happened is you're going from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and now you have 3 stoplights. Where you only have the 1 with 2 lanes. Now you're bottlenecking up. And you're seeing, like on Fridays, you're seeing traffic back past where the K&B was because they're merging in, and you got the stoplights. When you throw the semi trucks in there, they have to make right turns. So it takes them longer to make a right turn. So when the next cars go through, and because your traffic coming from Evelyn and Gilbert are stacking up, that's changing the lights sooner. So rather than the lights going northbound, southbound, being changed for, let's say, a minute and a half or a minute, they're changing in 45 seconds. You just keep stacking up those cars. And that's why you're seeing the backups on 53. And the semis aren't helping them to make the turns,
So, I know the speeds, it's been a problem coming up from 97 to 37 for years because they upped the speed to 60, from Evelyn to Gilbert. Can they temporarily, until this summer construction is done, reduce the speed coming from Evelyn to Gilbert? And then that'll eliminate some of the J braking too, because they won't have to, because that 40, speed limit starts, just out of town a little bit by the AOA. So it doesn't really make sense to have a 60 for a, 2 mile stretch at the most. If they could just reduce it for this construction.
What would you see it reduced to?
Well, maybe 50, doesn't 50 means 60, 60 means 70 to most people, but try to limit that speed. It gets kind of dangerous when you're trying to turn towards Gilbert and you look and there's nothing coming. You turn and there's that corner and you're right on your butt, before it's just, the speed is just too much for that.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I think you may have noticed a little bit of change in Jake braking. I met with all of these safety directors from the I guess you want to call the big 3, Northland, KGM, Masabi, and Ulands. So I think the Jake braking's gotten a little bit better, at least with those trucks. Obviously, there's still some trucks with Jake braking, I'm sure. But we've been trying to get it on a little bit. So I did inform all 3 companies that any truck going 34 or faster will receive a citation. They've been warned, no questions asked. So we're trying to get a handle on that too.
Thank you. Before I hand that mic to Matt or whatever, I want to have back to Brian here. We need to address this issue from the working session. I think Mike brought it up. The power installation of $26,000, the agreement, we need to make a motion if
It's on our agenda, we are in the meeting.
it is.
Yes, we added that. Or no, C, oh yeah, C, okay. IMC. Sorry.
I have two questions to try. You got cars in the, is that the impound lot? Do you have cars in there?
Yes, yep.
Are we sold or?
So we're in the process of going through a couple of the ones, we have to get rid of, usually just get rid of them because they're not worth anything. A couple other cars are big cars. But there's 3 cars being removed from there. There's 2 fresh ones that are still in the picture.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah, and some of them aren't, to check and see, there's 5 vehicles total, I think.
And then at the last meeting, you said that you had the ability to put things on state bid or whatever it is, like a cardboard crusher, but we haven't used it in 5 years.
Correct, yeah.
And we had a chance to get that on there.
So the other thing, I guess, before I my old business, because it's in the letter for the next council action, the letter has been provided to. That'll be our second round of putting stuff on do this, so I can add that. Now that I have an actual count, I can actually go on, take pictures and submit that and do that. So with anything that the city wants to do, I can not do that. I just got started last month, the sale of the first couple of keys, so I can take care of all of that. No matter how big or how small.
Yeah, we brought up that last meeting, that's what for you.
Yep, and I'm actually asking for approval tonight for that stuff. And if that stuff's put on a surplus property, I can put that one of the customers.
Okay, we need to get the mic to Matt over there, the city engineer, and I know he's got some good news for us, I believe. Some good news for us, right, Matt?
All I have for this evening, yes, it's good news, but it's on the agenda, so if you want me to wait till the agenda item to talk about it, I can do that, or I can do it now. It's the Enterprise Trail one.
Oh, yeah, other than, let's talk about the volume help.
Oh, I don't have any updates on that.
From my understanding, it went through, and we're able to up to raise our width from $5,000 to $10,000.
Hopefully that's the case.
How it worked out is that the WIF ceiling was raised from 5 million to 10 million. And they funded the agencies in the bonding bill. So they didn't fund particular projects for cities, they funded the agencies who will make those decisions. Now that that's been moved up, Mike Larson from SEH is already reaching out to PFA to try to increase our application. That's the process. So we're working on it.
That was a good, that was the first hurdle we had to get by to get that okay. Go ahead then.
No, that was it. Yes, you're right, and Mike's right, that's where it's at right now.
Thank you for that. So we're getting closer. One more step to go. As long as you're at the table there, just take up your issue over there. Enterprise Trail Plan Agreement, what's the deal there, Lee?
Okay, so the other good news, I guess, I think we may have talked about this before, we did apply for a couple of different grants with the DNR to help fund a new public access on Oregon. And we were successful in getting the State Park Road account money to be able to help upgrade Enterprise Trail. It's gonna stay gravel, we were hoping we would repave it, but they didn't think that the traffic volumes out there warranted paving it as far as the funding goes. Doesn't mean the city couldn't pave it someday, but at this point, we've got some grant funding to help upgrade that road. In order to do that, we have to go through and prepare the plans and all that, and submit them to state aid, submit them to DNR. And so on your agenda, there's the agreement for professional services for us to put together those plans, specifications to get those approved. And then we can access the funds and do an upgrade, on Enterprise Trail. The second part of that, and it's not on the agenda tonight, but the second part of that is in the public access itself. And we're working with the DNR on a partnership to fund the actual public access parking area, the new boat landing, things like that. We're not quite there, we're almost there. And hopefully we can get that moving forward as well. So I don't know that we're gonna get the public access at this point, if we're gonna actually get that constructed this year, but we can take care of Enterprise Trail and at least get that upgraded. step one. I can answer any other questions you might have on that, or, yeah, anything else?
So the enterprise trail include a parking area?
No.
No.
That's going to fall in.
What's the feeling of the cost on this? What was we were obligated to pay $1,000?
On the state park road account, they will cover $150,000, which is what we're estimating that we need to get the enterprise trail upgraded. And then the city, we've been working with Sam, city crews are gonna do some work. It's hard to explain without a diagram, but there's a short segment of what's now kind of a one-way path that vehicles can get down, but it's pretty narrow. They're gonna go in, cut some trees down, put some gravel down and widen that road out. That's not part of our grant funding, that's the city's contribution towards it. And then the city is responsible for the engineering costs. So you'll get $150,000 to upgrade enterprise trail at the end of the day, so it'll roll off to.
So what are the engineering costs approximately gonna be?
This contract is, excuse me, $19,000 for the design and plan and specifications and to get it through the whole review process with the agencies.
Or 20 grand? 20 grand? you're talking
Yeah,
about?
20.
Okay, question, see the water's coming back up over here. And there's also some rumor that, maybe might happen again someday over there. So, not really very soon, but some other companies are rumored to be interested in that mining company. Why? My rumor, you know. So if they go back to mining over there some year down the road, that water will be going down again. So the whole land will be in jeopardy again. So right now, is it in jeopardy still? Has the water stopped coming or is it still rising or?
It's slowly coming back up. The boat landing is still not usable. It could get to that point again, though. It certainly could if the pumping stays stopped for an extended period of time.
One of the things that happened when we went to the DNR and everybody to discuss this project, we were talking to Cliffs and they were gonna fund some improvements for what we had going on. And we talked to everybody in the room, so to speak. And before we decided whether or not this new site would be a good boat landing site, SEH did some surveying. It's an old hollow road, so it has a nice even grade going down it. So if the water goes down, it doesn't destroy our boat landing. Our current site, there's a 400-foot drop off, so it kind of puts a little rain on your parade. This site is planned to have better longevity based on whatever happens here, but if they mine it, yeah, all bets are off.
So I think you just answered my question on this. But I'll ask again, because I'm looking at Google Earth right now, and my understanding of that's the old boat landing that we used, 40 years ago when we illegally launched boats until before we built them. So that is a haul road, essentially.
Correct.
That's not going to go anywhere.
And before we came up with the plan, Matt and I talked about this, and he wanted to make sure that road didn't have a big drop off. So if the water went up or down 20 feet, that we would still have access.
So is the improvement to Enterprise Trail, is that basically kind of like directly on the opposite side of where you enter the OHD Park? Or is it further down the road?
It would be from where the bituminous ends now to the west, to where we're to the boat access. And it would include some drainage, some grading, some additional surfacing, gravel surfacing, some tree clearing. It's minor, but it's to access some of these other funding sources, it's what they're looking for in having a road that gets to your public access that's meets the standards.
Sure. Another element involved in this is the fact that the road that we have isn't named a city road yet. So there might be advantages to us to at some point name that road for better funding opportunities. Does that sound accurate?
So it's not that short road that comes up from Enterprise Drive down to that just short stretch of the block? That's what we're talking about.
No, that is the part that Mike was just referring to, that if that
We don't have
became,
any funding for that.
I only bring my part up because I wanna know from council, are we gonna totally abandon our present boat landing? Because we're not taking the risk of any more mining happening or not happening there? Are we moving a hedge to make this our primary boat landing?
That's correct.
That's what we're doing.
That's correct, yes. Because the existing one has such a large drop off there.
Even if it came back to life again, are we abandoning it and we're moving on to another boat landing primary?
It's our long-term goal.
Okay, so therefore we should continue on and do this thing.
And I think one of the issues, a separate topic, but if we're abandoning the boat landing down by Sherwood, we're gonna end up having to have some conversations about what, if anything, we do with the beach and docks and things like that on it, because those are also an issue.
Correct, that's down the road, but right now I wanna know, we're gonna sink any money into this, are we totally abandoning the other one and not going back and forth, and wasting our time and money, okay? So we're abandoning the present one, even though it might come up, it might not stay up. So stick all our eggs over here, this other side, correct?
yep, that's the plan, yep,
So if we're gonna have a boat landing, but there's no parking area?
there will be, yep. So the second part of the project will be the actual public access itself, parking, the ramp, the boat ramp, the docks, everything else down there. So there will be some parking down there too, yes.
So right now, it's just an access to the water. So right now, it's just gonna be an access to the water?
Well, it's access to the road that goes to the water.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's no cement pillars in there for the boats to go in when they go in the water and stuff like that?
No.
Not yet.
Just,
So this is the boat landing part.
this $150,000 doesn't, actually $130,000 because you're taking that 20. Doesn't include any of that, just to make a road.
Correct.
It gets improved down to.
So it'll never be a beach swimming area developed there, it's only for a boat landing.
At this time,
Right.
it's just a public access.
Right, yep.
Okay, Paul, I guess I'm okay to proceed, and we need a boat landing for that Verbigon. Whatever it takes to keep on going, and I think we'll have to take, hopefully, Campbell will be profitable enough for us to take some money out of there to do this job. So, there's no more discussion, I guess, motion is to approve this, agreement with SCH.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah, you're first.
I'm sitting on the chair.
Okay, a motion for Carl to accept this different for the boat landing. And we have a second by Council Putnam. Do we have discussion? No discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None, motion carries 5-0.
Great. All right, anything else for, Matt before he leaves from the council?
Well, there was some manholes, where we started with that money that we got for the
Yeah,
manhole.
we're working on that project,
Okay,
advancing that down the field.
okay. All right.
All right.
separate things on this, on the agenda for here. There's the SEH agreement, which we just voted on. Then there's the enterprise grant agreements.
We're rolled into one, right? I know they're separate on here, but were they rolled into one, or we just voted on?
Back.
Yeah.
No, excuse me, no, this is just for the access road, the enterprise trail. Mike and I and Sam are still working on finalizing, crossing some Ts, dotting some Is to get a contract with the DNR to help do the actual public access. That'll come back hopefully at one of the meetings very, very soon. And that one actually, a lot of times the DNR will provide their services and design and build public accesses for communities. They right now are very busy and their staff is tied up. They have another way that they oftentimes go about it, where they will let the cities contract with consultants to do the work for them, and the DNR will cover the costs. Since they can't do it, they'll cover the costs of it. And so what we have right now, we've got it set up where they want us to do a 30%, basically a design to the level that we can get a good cost estimate of what it's gonna cost, and the DNR is gonna look at trying to help fund. I don't wanna get anybody excited, but they seem pretty excited about the project and looked like they were gonna fund it wholly. So again, I don't wanna say that because that's not heard of very often where something gets funded 100%, but they were excited about it. And so that's to come at a future meeting here. Hopefully we'll hear some more good news on that.
So we're not gonna act on the enterprise trail grant agreement.
That's a separate deal, St. Louis County, you both need to act.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with our reconditioning trail with SEH. It's got nothing to do with
It's not tied
special
into
services, they're not tied into SEH.
But it still needs to be addressed.
Between us and Tommy.
Yeah, it's the same deal, they're just, one's an agreement with SEH, the other's an agreement with the county.
Right.
They both need approval. But we're not even on our new business agenda yet, we're still working here, so.
All about that.
Okay, interesting. So we've approved one, we're gonna go further in the agenda to look at the other. Got it, that's all we. Okay.
Public Works is not here, campground, post is not here, library not here, first responders. City administrator, Mike, anything?
I only have one announcement, that is approved plumbing is going to have a grand opening and ribbon cutting. It is going to be on June 18th from 12 o'clock until 2 p.m. There's going to be like food and goodies available for people who want to come up and see their shop and their business. The ribbon cutting will be at 12:15. That's all I have.
Actually being done by the Laurentian then?
That's the chamber conference. And I just got a note from the chamber reiterating that invitation to the whole council, so.
No.
At this point, we would be moving to our public hearing on the variance, so we need somebody to make a motion to suspend the hearing on our public hearing.
I could say recess, can I? Make a motion to recess the meeting at 7:35.
I'll second.
I'm gonna ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilor Skrillex, supported by Councilor Horn to recess the council meeting at 7:35. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. 7:36. Need a roll call for this.
Councilor Bertocci.
Present.
Councilor Horn.
Present.
Mayor Oberster here. Councilor Skirvin.
Here.
Councilor Condon here.
All right, so we have Mr. Slavich here. He's asking for various requests on, we've had it before us, council. We've talked about it before. We have him here. he needs a variance, goes against our ordinances, and he's asking for the variance on this project. We either, I think we got some questions we're gonna ask him.
I have no questions. I think where we're at is if there's any public input or any neighbors who want to comment on this, this is the forum that they get to do that in. So if anybody has any issues or concerns or support for this, they can feel free to step up to the podium.
For the record, you did send letters out to the neighborhood?
Yes, we did.
Do we have any, for the record, anybody in the audience tonight, any objection to granting this variance to Anthony Slavich? Come forward. Again, we've had no letters or calls back to you.
I've had one phone call in support of the variance. A neighbor who called and said, you know, she supported it and that he did a nice job keeping his yard up and he could get this taken care of. I think that same discussion was happened in our work session previously before we had this public hearing, so that's where we're at.
That should be noticed for the record as well. I know planning and zoning board, when they had these various sessions, they had a bunch of, we had it in your packet here, 6 or 7 questions they asked, and yes, 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 no, no, no. And I think all of them are, that I answered myself, were all yeses. And that means okay with this variance. But that, we were supposed, they go through every question and they answer it. And then we make the ruling over the, how many yeses, right, yeah. So if council wants to look at that, and ask any questions on those questions there?
Yeah, there's a state form that people often use in cities like this. As you go through this, the first question is, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the zoning ordinance. The commission agrees applicant's evidence affirms the above fact statement.
Yes.
So that's correct. Complaint of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property not created by the landowner. Commission agrees applicant's evidence affirms the above.
Yes, again, right?
And the third one, if the variance is granted, it will not alter the essential character of the locality. The commission agrees the applicant's evidence affirms the above.
Yes, yeah.
And we had that discussion.
There's 2 more.
Additionally, is the variance in harmony with the purposes and intent of the ordinance? And it appears to me that it is. The final is the variance consistent with the comprehensive plan. And it falls within your city ordinances to either grant or not grant this variance. It is not inconsistent with the plan, but it is inconsistent with our normal ordinance.
The plan is not perfect. It needs, sometimes you need to make adjustments, and that's why the variances are there to do that. And I see it's okay, correct?
And Mayor, that the question about consistency with the plan, typically the way that I interpret that question is that it's consistent with the overall makeup of the plan. So essentially, this would be a use of a residential character in a residentially designated area. And so for that reason, I think it's in line as well.
Correct. So everything passes on that sheet. That's what the planning and zoning would be going through. So therefore, if there's no other objections by anybody on record or the council, and a motion in order to grant this variance is in order.
Excuse me, Mayor, but we need to use close the public hearing and reopen the council meeting.
Oh, yes, correct. Give that to council meeting. Can't do it here.
Need a motion to
Make a motion to adjourn somebody.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilor Bertocci, supported by Councilor Hart to adjourn this variance session, meeting in 7:41. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Now, our regular meeting
I move to reconvene.
Councilor Skirvin, supported by Councilor Vrtajik to reconvene our regular council meeting of June 10th, 2025 at 7:42 for the record. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And I also want, with this one, I want, roll call.
I make a motion to accept the variance.
Okay, hold on, a roll call vote, I need a roll call, everybody's back in session here. Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Vrtajik.
Present.
Councilor Horn.
President.
Mayor Overstreet. Here. Councilor Skirvin.
Here.
Councilor Bodnar.
Here. Okay, all right, now,
I'll make a motion to accept the variance. In relation to the neighborhood.
Second.
by Councilor Vrtajik, supported by Councilor Skirvin to approve the variance request by Anthony Slavich as, gone through by the council. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Granted. Thank you. All right. Fire department air pack discussion.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider the discussion from the previous meeting.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Skirvin, supported by Councilor Vrtajik to,
Move to reconsider.
move to reconsider, the last vote of 2 weeks ago of June, May 28th, wasn't it? The meeting? Do the calendar.
I do have a question though.
May 27th, reconsider.
I have a question. In the work session, there was a inquiry that we would see the check about the funding, and check about the cost. Are we gonna forego that and just vote on this now?
Well, before we can do anything, we have to officially state that we are going to reconsider a previous motion.
Very good, so, thank you.
Motion by Councilor Skirvin, Councilor Vrtajik to reconsider the last vote. All right, what are we gonna put in that motion? That pass.
Well, that's the next step. We have to go back and reconsider the topic.
Well, the topic, but not the vote. The vote on that data, that was the decision. We have new data and we have a new plan. Correct. So we need a new motion for that. Correct. Not on the previous motion.
Well, we don't need a reconsideration. We don't need a reconsideration.
So, okay, well, we'll defer to the attorney here.
We don't need this reconsideration, it's gonna be exactly the way it was before, reconsideration.
Yeah, so Mayor, there's a couple of different ways to accomplish what I understand the council is attempting to accomplish. And so what I understand Councilor Skirvin is doing is basically resurrecting the issue, bringing it back and undoing the action, putting it back on the table for further consideration. Am I understanding?
That's my intention.
And this is one method to do it would be a motion to reconsider, which would essentially eliminate the previous. The other way to do it would be essentially a motion to rescind or reverse that action. Both would ultimately have the same impact.
I guess I'm getting at, to reconsider is to take the same motion to pay for 22 of them. Again, do that vote again, that's reconsidering the last motion, exactly the way it was worded,
So
last motion.
So if I understand at the previous meeting, there was a motion that dealt with acquiring 22.
It didn't pass.
It failed. Okay. Well, in the event that motion failed, we wouldn't actually need a motion to reconsider because the action failed. So essentially what we would do is take a new step or we'd start a new course.
Because
So
we're going to a different number again now, a different amount of money,
So then,
that's why.
I just need to withdraw my motion.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm still withdrawing.
Yeah.
What was the
if you tabled it so essentially a tabling motion, if a tabling motion were made, the tabling motion would be a vote to move that item to another specified date for further discussion. So we can end all discussion of it at this meeting and put it on to another meeting.
Again, to reconsider was to do it exactly as it was last time and vote on it. Okay, now we're gonna do that. Withdraw everything, like now we're talking from a table. We're gonna lose these things, guys. We're gonna lose it, some of the old business, we're gonna lose this, we gotta act on it somehow. And we wait till we get some further information by the end of the week, we can have a council meeting at, Friday, 5 o'clock. We don't want that.
I did make a phone call when we were at break, and he could not give me an updated. There's another conference going on, so his upper higher people are not in town this week, so we will not know this week if there's a new number.
Too risky, it's too risky to lose this.
But I did make the phone call and ask the question if I could get an updated number.
Too risky to that's why to reconsider the other one, but make a new motion now is also in play here to buy something. Do something, 14 or 21. A new motion is in play here to do that. Reconsider is to do that other motion totally as it was.
That's been withdrawn at this time, so if anybody wants to make a motion to move forward, they're welcome to.
I'm not the table this motion. Table the discussion.
The motion by Rudy, also for touching tables.
So the next, well, so we can find out from the bank or your suggestions during the working session about whether that money is can be used for fire department, whether we have the money, and what the bank is going to say about it, when we can get the money. Same thing if you're discussing.
So no specific date. Your motion would allow us, if we needed to call a special meeting.
We can call a special meeting or we'll be the next regular council
Then I'll
meeting.
second that.
Yeah, and the second, a little more discussion. And I'm just talking about 14, I'm not gonna vote for 21, I vote for 14. Yeah, that's the line is there.
I don't think table, there's discussion, it's just.
Yeah, you're welcome to discuss it,
Yeah,
state your opinion, but we're just tabled it until you guys find out the details
Yeah.
of what's going on, and at that point, a motion will be made if you call a special meeting or a regular meeting, and then all discussions on the table. Anyone who has any discussion points right now is free to talk about it.
So things that I would like to see before we make a formal motion. I'll note the prices of the 14.
I just
I'll note
gave you that.
the interest rate and
$144,450.
I think it's 125 for the 14 as well. You said, well, the annual payment is 25,450.
14 packs, 28 bottles, 21 nights.
We have to take up the table first, we can't talk about this.
So
We have to talk about it, vote on the table right now. That's it. And hold on. Motion by Councilor Vrtajek, support by Councilor Skirvin to table this issue. Take a roll call vote, Councilor Vrtajek. Yes or no?
The table, yes.
Councilor Horn.
Yes.
Mayor Overstar, no. Too risky. Councilor Skirvin.
yes.
Councilor Vrtajek.
yes.
Motion carries 4-1. Mayor Overstar voting no. Councilor Vrtajek, Warren, Skirvin, and Condon voting yes. It's table. Okay.
So please, if you can, as soon as you can, in writing, give us the 14, okay, that's fine. Give it to Mike. We need, all five of us need to have the dollar amount, we need to have the interest rate at both the 5 and the 7 year. And then we need to confirm with the bank that it is a grant or a donation that we can apply to anything.
And is it going to be a yearly payment or can we monthly payments to reduce the interest rate?
Do you have that information? Is it a yearly payment or can it be monthly payments?
According to him, it's a yearly payment.
Can we do monthly payments to reduce the interest?
I'll find that out, but I don't see why not.
There's no prepayment penalty.
As soon as we can get all of that information, I'm ready to have a special meeting, whenever we get that.
I'll wait for this.
I'll call a special meeting when I get the information to me.
In the meantime, what would you like to do? Would you like to have us go on defensive and not rescue? I want the liability taken off me if someone gets hurt or killed in a fire.
I understand, you're
It's on-
absolutely right, you
it's
shouldn't
on
go out
you.
anymore. No, so stay home.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief. You said OSHA requires after 10 years, they do your annual inspection as long as your
Annual inspection every year.
Correct.
After 10 years, you really need to, after 20 years, they're out of service for sure. They're supposed to be out of service every 10 years. They kind of oversee that on rural volunteer fire departments because we're not as busy as big cities. But these 13 air packs are 23 years old or whatever they are. Correct. They're
You
not,
only have 13 airbags?
no, I have
13 that.
I have, not 13 out of date, 6 that are 2 years old, and 3 that are 2015 models that are 10 years old.
So with that being said too, I guess I have to ask the question, how come 13 years past their prime, how come all of a sudden this month we're dealing with this situation as an emergency versus 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
Because 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I came to the council and said, we're in this situation. I suggest we go for a FEMA grant. And every year after that, I went through a FEMA grant and we got denied. And here we sit today, and there's never no money put in reserve for this type of thing. That's why we're in the same situation with the fire truck. That's why we're in the same situation with these. I've asked this when I first became chief, can we start putting money away for these big things? Nothing has been done.
We're definitely gonna obviously deal with this, but to prevent future things, do you have a planned obsolescence report for your safety equipment, just so we know what's coming up due?
I have I have my budget done for 5 years. I've had my budget done every year, and in the 6 years I've been chief, I've been asked to come to a budget meeting once.
Okay. But the budget that takes into account things like this that are nearing end of life. Okay.
Yeah, the big asking if you have things that you can list that are end of life.
That is end of life right now, are 13 air packs, that's it.
That's it.
Really, the end of life stuff is the air packs, the turnout gear. The turnout gear, I got permission in the past to purchase 2 to 3 sets a year because them for sure are 10 years out of service. So we're good on that. And this is something that is tougher. This is something most cities just purchase one lump sum every so many years. Full-time departments every 10 years. City of Hibbing, City of Virginia, City of Duluth, every 10 years they purchase. City of Hibbing just purchased 54 of these. So I try to do make the budget the easiest I can every year, a pretty consistent number. And this is just an item that's got to be involved. Or you hope for the FEMA grant. Which the last time we got a FEMA grant was 22 years ago.
Well, and I can't speak for other counselors, or previous councils, but I'm fully supportive of getting you the equipment you need. I just want to make sure that we're planning, budgeting. Unfortunately, previous council didn't do that, and I apologize on their behalf that you got kind of left in the dark with that.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I ain't blaming you guys. I'm just looking at the situation. I don't want the liability. I'm a volunteer firefighter who could have retired last year, but I don't, because I like people in this town. I like the town, and I continue to do it. I can leave right now and go to Fail Township and make double on my pension. I don't. So I don't want the liability of the death on me. I want to put it on you guys. Because you guys are making the decision right now.
Right. And from my standpoint, I've said this over and over, we're gonna get this done. We have to get this done. But my shared responsibility to the citizens is I have to have stuff in writing before I say go ahead and buy something. And that's what I'm asking for, and that's the reason that is the only reason for my money for the delay.
And I'm asking for what I asked for. I want the responsibility taken off my shoulders.
It's off your shoulder, I mean, it's council not giving you what you asked for it, and we're not giving it to you, so you're not.
That's all I need. Thank you.
Can you clarify what you just gave him permission? Because I feel like he was asking permission not to say
What he asked was to be in a defensive position, meaning that approval said that he's approving the fire department to not go in and retrieve somebody if they're in a burned house. That's what you just said.
He's saying he wants approval for, he wants you to send it
I
to.
want to know what you guys want me to do. You want me to take these packs out of service, or do you want me to put these packs on these firefighters, knowing you guys know that they're out of service?
I have one question. The current packs that you have all been inspected by OSHA and are all approved for use at this point in time?
OSHA doesn't come in.
Whoever you said that because they're older, they were annual inspection.
Correct.
Have they all passed the annual
last year.
inspection? Can you, I talk please? They've all passed the annual inspection?
Last year.
Okay, that's what Dylan was asking too. Okay, so, thank you.
But they're not legal right now, you're saying.
Correct.
They're not legal, so you're asking us, you want us to tell you, put them on and go, right?
Exactly.
And it's illegal, right?
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal, no. I mean, yeah, just move on with your thing.
No, we gotta get this cleared up.
So according to the NFPA, National Fire Protection Agency, and OSHA, at 20 years, they are out of service, no matter if you test them every year or not. So knowing that I have 13 out of service, they should be taken out of service.
Okay, so you're saying we tell you to use them and you get hurt, we're liable.
Absolutely.
Well, so,
And I am too.
so Mr. Mayor, if I may, I don't think anybody is gonna give a directive in this room to violate a law or to intentionally put somebody in an unsafe position. I think it's incumbent upon everybody, to use their best judgment to protect our firefighters, our city, the city, I mean, this is a difficult conversation. And what I hear the conversation is that the council would like to get the equipment for you. They're concerned about the financials of the equipment. I completely understand, Chief, your position, that you don't want to put your firefighters in harm's way. Right? And I don't want to layer over the top of this a conversation that goes like it has here, where Chief, basically you're saying, well, Council, if you direct me to continue to use these things, anybody's death is on your hands. That's not a fair statement, and it's not one we should be making.
Absolutely, it's not. But when that pager goes off tonight and there's a house burning and there's people inside there, guess who has to make that choice? I do.
Well,
So that puts it on me.
And Chief, what it sounds to me like, it sounds like we've got a certain number of packs that are under that 20-year threshold, and while they may not be the greatest,
They are, but when we send a crew of 4 in, we don't have enough to have a backup crew of 4. 4 in, we have a backup crew. We have mutual aid, but we're waiting for them.
2 and 2 out.
We don't do 2 in, 2 out.
So,
Isn't that what you said at the last
At
meeting?
the very least, we'll do 3 in, 3 out.
but
We usually send 4 in on a crew. All these departments up here have younger firefighters that aren't, that experienced, so I'm not gonna send 2 unexperienced
If we would have
firefighters.
bought them today, could you got them tomorrow?
Yeah, they're in stock in Apple Valley.
Huh?
They're in stock in Apple Valley.
You could have got them tomorrow?
Well, yeah, and that's not the point, Carl.
But if you would have moved them, you still would have had them, you would still probably could have had a fire in between here. Then what?
We can have them tomorrow, but we cannot use them until we have 24 hours of training on them.
Okay, what in the meantime, you had a fire, then what?
Exactly. That's what I'm asking you. What would you like me to do in the meantime?
Well, then I asked the legal attorney, You say they're not, you can't use them, you can't,
So,
we can't get them, even if we ordered them.
We can use them, we've been using them, but we've had 2 failures in this last month
I understand that,
in a fire.
but you still wouldn't be, if we bought them today, you couldn't get them in a couple of days anyway, and you need training on them. So what would
So
that period of time, what would happen to our liability here?
so, I mean, this. The facts are what they are right now. I mean, we are where we are with the equipment. I think the council is, having a discussion and attempting to form a plan. I mean, $144,000 is no insignificant amount of money.
I totally agree.
And so it takes some time to do those things and to take actions where those amounts of money are in play. I understand the council members wanting to verify where funds are going to come from. And Chief, I understand your position too, but the fact that we are where we are right now, it doesn't mean that one side or the other is going to take the blame if something happens. I mean, Chief, even if the council said use these packs that are outdated, I trust that you wouldn't put your firefighters in harm's way just because the council said, yeah, go ahead and do it. I mean, you're still going to act in the best interest of your firefighters. You're going to do your best to keep everybody safe. The citizens, the folks that are the victims of fire, and the folks that are out fighting fires. And we understand that these are important. I think the council has made that very clear. And it sounds like they're working toward this, but we can't sit in this room and artificially change where blame or liability may lie just by saying, okay, you tell me to do it, I'll do it, and anything that happens is on you. We understand the point you're making, that these things are out of date and that it's very dangerous to use them. And I think the direction from the council would be, don't place your firefighters at risk. Do everything you can to fight the fires. If you have to go into a defensive mode and wait for mutual aid to show up because of the equipment we have, then that's what we have to do. It would be the same thing if we had a department that wasn't equipped with these air packs. We would do the same thing, and we'll do the best we can to save property and people and mitigate the effects of fire. But we can't say, we didn't get these new air packs tonight, and the vote didn't happen tonight, so if anybody gets hurt, it's on the council. I understand the sentiment, and I understand stressing that this is an important issue that needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. But we can't shift blame in the room just by making these types of statements.
I agree, and I apologize for putting you on that, but that's the position I'm in every time that pager goes out. It's on me.
And I respect that, I absolutely do. But I have to respect every voter and citizen in this town.
Absolutely.
Who has put me in this position to verify that we have the funds that we're going to spend. Right? And we're talking, we can probably have all of these conditions met in 24 hours. And then all we need is 2 or 3 days to call a special session.
I'm not waiting for the $100,000. I'm not waiting for a grant. There's another way to do it. Like everything else in this town is called levy. We don't have to pay till January, and if you have to levy for it, you will levy for it, because we need this thing. And people, if it's a 3%, we're gonna levy 3%, because we need it. I'm not gonna depend on somebody from another town to give us money for it. We need it, they said they need it, and there's another option, it's called levy. Put it on the budget, we don't have to pay it this year, and we levy for it, it's done.
We don't, it's zero payment next year.
Right, and we have options, we don't have to wait for a grant from Washington, St. Paul, Evlith, Virginia. If we don't have it in our bank account, you levy for it. That's the way that's like everything else gets bought around here. And nobody wants to pay. But then you don't get nothing. And nobody should be in a fire department, nobody should be plowing, we should be staffing over here because we got no money to pay. Period. None. Tired of all these excuses for everything, tired of it. Okay, so we're gonna have a special meeting. Somebody should pay for your heart operation, baloney. No. Okay. Moving on, stables. And hopefully you can get 14 or 14, I guess. Or I'm up for 21. So get them, hold again, please hold them again till we get to special session.
We can't hold up.
Can't hold them. See, that's my risk. I don't like that at all. It's gonna cost us money, more money. That's not judiciary, the term money. Also, Warren.
So with all this being said, Mike, can you reach out to Matt at the bank tomorrow and try and get clarification?
Yeah, no
And
one
then-
told me anything about this.
Yeah, so that's why I'll have you do it, because you're the city administrator. If you can get him the quote with all the actual written stuff that you talked about.
I did it.
Yeah, perfect. Within 24 hours, like, hopefully we get the information.
What's our notice requirement for calling a special meeting? Release. So,
So that would be on 14.
well, we could meet on Saturday. There's nothing saying we can't meet on a Saturday.
Friday, you could go to a special meeting, and then if you get all the facts, then you can determine. So you can call a special meeting now for Friday, and then if you get everything, yeah, then you have the answer.
All right.
Because you can always cancel a special meeting.
If I want to be here on Friday.
During Lindsay,
What's that?
are you comfortable with that strategy?
We can set a meeting. We can set a meeting and notice it, and if it gets canceled, we can just withdraw.
Okay, Friday, what
Can
time?
you guys do early on Friday?
I can do anytime you want.
I'm on Friday morning, I can come in the afternoon, but I'm off Friday morning.
Can you do like 1?
Yeah, easy.
But have a 12 o'clock meeting with the other two gentlemen on 2 o'clock. So, how about 1:30?
I mean, at that point, we'll have the information we need. It'll be as simple as, okay, yes.
Okay, Mike, sure, I'm not, the meeting is still going on, so the council can make the special meeting, by motion right here at the council, I don't have to call for one. Off the, hour from now, we're here. Make a motion. Yeah.
I make a motion to have a special meeting to address the ear packs at 1:30 on Friday.
Motion by Council Scrivett, supported by the mayor to have a council meeting special council meeting for 1:30 on Friday, the 13th. Just dealing with the one issue, the airbags, fire department airbag.
The other option that we have is we could simply recess tonight's meeting to that date.
It's just taking nothing else up because some other things we take up.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying recess it now. We finish tonight's business and then just leave the meeting open to take
We
this
can do
one.
that too, yeah.
So if there's
Then you might be able to do it sooner, and you won't be throwing it on occasion.
correct.
So you might be able to do it Thursday then?
So if we
Move it to Thursday if you.
If we
You could end up that way to get the information.
Yeah, right, yeah.
if we recess the meeting, you don't have to republish notice. So this meeting essentially stays suspended until it reconvenes at that date and time.
You want to recall your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw my second, then recall.
That's the new one.
So then you're saying if Thursday we have all the information, we can have this meeting on Thursday instead of Friday.
Correct, but at that point, you couldn't cancel, you at least have to come and adjourn the meeting.
Sure.
It'll hold this meeting open until that date.
So we could.
How are we gonna address the public to come back to recess?
The idea of it is because we announced, so anybody who's interested in watching this meeting is watching this meeting and will see that we're recessing it to a specified date and time, so they'll know to rejoin the meeting at that point.
Not attending.
Right.
Not attending, no, that's another issue.
Difference to me.
Okay, so what time did we agree on what day?
But you were not withdrawing them.
I withdraw the motion, so, I mean, honestly, if we want, when we recess, we can recess until tomorrow afternoon or Thursday afternoon.
That's just finding information.
Fair to all, it's not fair to.
We're giving them notice in this meeting. It's televised.
We can't put a time and date on it.
Well, we could say Thursday, and then if we don't get the information, then we'll just
No, you can
close the meeting.
You can recess the meeting until a specific time. You just state at the end of when we get to the end of the meeting, you say, recess the meeting until a date time, so
If you got it,
Congress does it all the time.
would be like having a closed meeting.
They don't care, they got no political there.
Yes.
Focus, guys, focus.
Well, either way, also, we can withdraw it or else have a special meeting. We can still have a special meeting. We've always done it before.
We will need to meet to complete this meeting now.
We're still going on, we're going on.
Yeah. Well, at the end though, that's what you want to do.
So let me ask.
Well, why don't we just wait till the end of the meeting and decide what you want to do? Finish this off, okay? Under miscellaneous, decide if you want to recess or make a special meeting, okay? On that. All right, call for the cure, gambling application, everything's in order there?
It's ready to go. Need a motion.
Motion to approve the gambling.
I'll make the motion to approve. Second.
Moved by Councilor Skirvin, supported by Councilor Hart to approve the crawl for the clear gambling application. Everything seems to be in order. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. 3rd July request for use of city facilities marked in red. Everybody looked at that? Objections?
Is there any issue in using the ball fields during 4th of July weekend? Does the campground have any overflow?
Not that I'm aware of. You normally approve this for the 3rd of July committee on an annual basis, so there's no surprises involved.
Oh, this is a bigger event. This never had these kind of events.
And then
Great.
that grass behind Wandering Pines, the city still owns
The
that?
city owns that.
Okay. So that's not a plot where the storage unit is gonna go?
It is that plot, but they don't,
They didn't
we still own it.
Okay.
I don't know what his intentions are.
Yeah, so that's the space between Water Pines parking lot and the other storage units.
And city property.
The piece that's small.
Yes.
There's another one across the road, isn't there, between, the car wash?
There is another one there on the city's property too.
As long as it's on city property.
Okay,
I move to approve the request for facilities.
Second.
moved by Councilor Warren, supported by Councilor Skirvin to approve the 3rd of July request for use of city facilities that are marked in red. Presented to the council. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, David, Gaunt, our request.
Yeah, we discussed this in our work session. They would like to move forward. I've talked to Brian about creating a contract that we would have on this. They'd like to build this year, so that's why they'd like to get this approved if we're able to. And really the only question left, I would think, would be proposed interest rate to charge them for the outstanding balance. I had initially put 3% because utility interest rates are usually lower because it's a long-term capital investment, but if you guys want to get 4, 5, or wherever you're thinking, just make that motion and allow me to follow through with Attorney Lindsay to get all of the contract stuff in place and to get it taken care of.
Okay, everybody heard that, Mike, I'm in favor of that, approving that grant, application, the request for, power on those circumstances of conditions put into that agreement between the city and Mr. Hatt. With the
Market.
market rate of what? What's the market rate?
Powers market rate.
It's about, depending mortgage is almost 7, 6, something. You go to get a car when you're 6.5.
Mr. Gilbert probably won't agree to that.
The best I can do on a long-term, going to the bank, and making a substantial deposit is a 5% CD at this point in time. That's the upper end of the market. You're talking retail car loans, that's a whole different story, so you guys decide what interest rate you're comfortable with.
You know, like I said, we were assessed 6% for 15 years when we were assessed for our sewer. I don't know if that's, something you have to follow now because it's a precedent or.
No, this, Mayor, if I may, this is a private, essentially a private development agreement with an individual, so we can set the interest rate wherever we like.
Have you spoke with him about an interest rate?
I have told them, we would charge an interest on the outstanding balance, and they didn't have a figure. Well, what that would be yet, I didn't wanna make a commitment.
Being that he's gonna start this year, it's gonna increase tax value in the city, probably below 4%. It seems everyone get behind that.
It's one we.
Yeah. Okay. I motion to approve David Yancey's power request with a 4% interest rate based on the terms provided.
Moved by Councilor Horn, supported by
I'll support.
Councilor Skirvin to approve the David Gann power request with the city of Gilbert with the terms provided, city administrator and city attorney will apply to the grant, to the power agreement, the conditions with the 4% interest rate attached. Any more discussion?
Do we have a building permit for him yet, or type of building he's gonna put on that lot?
We don't have building permits, but I will ask for his land use permit and a sketch of the property before we.
Is burying that, I assume burying that power to, is that gonna interfere with having to move the trail?
I believe that's overhead
Overhead?
going in there. Yeah, I could be wrong, I don't know.
I think the trail has to be moved though, so his driveway doesn't cross the trail. And that was a discussion, so we have to also have money to move the trail. You know, I met with Matt and Sam earlier this year, and this was discussed. And so he wouldn't be crossing the trail where it exists now. He would have to cut the corner off of that corner. So then he would have access down
We'd have to move
into that gravel.
into the parking lot.
Yes.
Which that's.
But that would be up to the city to do that. And it shouldn't be much because we've pretty much, it's just crossing that, the dirt that's been.
We could probably sneak that in under general maintenance.
We could, we just bring a loader and just put some.
I think it's pretty doable.
It's not a blacktop issue.
No,
And this has been discussed when they sold the property. They sold the property to them, they said, well, if you build a house, we can move the driveway. We can move the trail a little bit, so it's not an expensive thing, it's probably a few $1,000s.
Right.
Okay. And we can absorb that.
I mean, it's right next to the King.
We have money in our budget for it.
I think you have to move on dirt piles after the pile down.
yeah, you'll have to move this up pile there now.
Get it staked out or something, get some signage up there for the trail.
Yeah. I don't know when you live the trail, if there's some permit you have to go with the trail.
We gonna move the trail?
Yeah, you have to move the trail. Cut across that gravel instead of going alongside where he's gonna be building, he would cut across that gravel so he would have his own driveway that he would be crossing the trail.
Well, I mean, so that,
Wasabi Trail to do that.
no, that's not the Masabi Trail, that's the city
City portion.
connector trail.
City
COH.
portion.
It's gonna take away some unloading and loading of your equipment then when you come to.
Can we verify the ownership of the trail? I believe it's city trail.
I think it's a city.
Then we,
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna infringe too much on that parking area that they use.
That's something that's motion anyway.
That's a separate.
That's why it's just discussion, you know that that's coming, yeah.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Saying that's, please, because some people don't know, we questioned about that last time. Okay, at E, Enterprise Trail Grant Agreement. Mike, now this is between the county.
This is a grant agreement with the county that we need to approve, so that they send us the funding.
This is a deal of $10,000 is our obligation, I think. We're giving here, right?
I believe it's 20.
Huh?
I believe it's 20. Some of that can be, taken off as work in kind, and that's what Matt was talking about. The city crew can get in, do some tree removal and widen that road a little bit, and we can use that as our contribution.
There is a clause, a backup clause in the agreement. The city or the county can back out at any time.
Well, we won't get the money if we don't approve the agreement.
I know, but there is a clause in there. We don't have to go through the whole course of the agreement. We could continue paying on this thing. No. City attorney, Ryan, did you read this thing? You okay with it?
Yeah, I don't think it places the city at any unreasonable risk, and I think we probably just put in a business strategy.
There was actually, I think I read one in there for both sides with a certain amount of time. There is an exit strategy, how far we get into this. Well, otherwise, agreement is over in order, at least for now. We need that agreement to proceed with our other, boat landing, don't we? We need this agreement, correct?
We do.
I make a motion to approve the cooperative agreement between St. Louis County.
No second.
By Council Service, or by Council Thomas to approve the agreement between, City of Gilbert and St. Louis County on Enterprise Trail. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Want something, Mike?
I just want everyone to know that the county's administering the grant through the DNR and the state, so they're like acting as fiscal agent. But the whole thing is all about the state grant, just so you know. Not a separate grant. It's all part of the same deal.
Do you need to okay playground wood chips, for our recreation department, for the public works department? I guess it's over a certain amount of money, I guess, that council needs to give approval on.
Well, it's $4,000 if you want to buy engineered wood chips from this playground company, or for $4,000 you can buy 1,000 bags from Menards. So you just have to decide whether you feel these engineered ones are better than the other ones. I don't have the knowledge to tell you if they're better or worse. I guess I would probably buy my wood chips at one of the retailers in the area and use those kinds of wood chips. Another option is your playground.
This is not the first time we've done this, so.
No, it's not.
Which playground though?
All of them, I understand.
Hopkins, Kennedy, campground.
It's been years since they put any out there.
Yeah.
The other option presented years, the option presented years ago was put B-rock, and then once you bought it, you never have to buy it again, but we've gone the wood chip way, which was a smarter move than going with the rubber recycled tires that they put in all these places that they all had to have removed. The big question is whether or not you feel you can buy wood chips at Menards or you want playground wood chips. I don't know the difference between the two. I'm not an expert.
I've done it before. I think it's as simple as that. Whatever, not the first time, but many times already. Just have
So
to.
these are doing it all the playgrounds? Yeah. Is there a playground on Caleb by?
There is some playground equipment on Kennedy at the top of Minnesota.
Does it look like it's ever used?
No, but it's, my understanding from an insurance standpoint is you have to have a landing that is softer, that's.
But if the playground equipment isn't used, who just discontinue?
Well, yeah, most of it.
Well, that's what I'm wondering if that's the case, if it's never used, why are they?
This could use up there. This could use.
I mean, I don't know what the quantity, this sounds reasonable for just even the playground down in Sherwood and Hopkins between those two.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm just curious if we're just.
I volunteered.
Which chips we're gonna need to, that's all.
On the wood chips, I volunteered, I helped erect both parks in town here. Back in the day, there was a big committee, and I think might be some chemicals in store-bought wood chips. I would check into that. I believe we had to get it hauled in from a different vendor.
Oh, yeah, if you get the dyed stuff, that's probably not good, so you just gotta get the natural, which.
Yeah,
Well, even the cedar natural is treated for pesticide.
and that seems really bad for dogs.
So which kind are we getting?
So the store-bought types are the ones that are bad for dogs.
Oh, so you gotta get the engineered stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know the one in Hopkins Park, but
So feel free to make a motion.
I motion to accept the engineered wood quote.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilor Horn, supported by Councilor Skirvin to approve the purchase of the wood chips from the, what's that engineer? From what company was that?
MWP Recreation.
MWP Recreation. Any more discussion on that?
I would hope that they would read the Hopkins Park one before we just dump the chips on top of it.
Well, I don't know.
Yes.
Can we,
That's a city.
bring that point up to Sam? We should hold meetings before we put down wood chips.
Sure. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. One on the topic of Kennedy Park, I did get a phone call and I told Sam, I don't know where if he's done this or not yet. The baseball field up there needs to be, what do you call, when you go around with dragging it, yeah. Grandmother and their grandkids are up trying to play and the potholes up there.
You talking about Kennedy?
Kennedy, yeah.
And the fence is all rusted and torn up and this side up and down.
Well, there's bases, you got potholes on the baselines, right? It needs to be dragged. You don't want any broken legs up there, you have toddlers. So,
This is why we need a Parks and Rec group. We have parks that, well, this work shouldn't be done exclusively by the council. You know, we've got parks that we can't maintain, clearly.
Then Mike, will you have him weeding the playground before the wood chips? Can you take down the COVID signage too? Because the park's been closed for the last 4 years now.
Yes.
So,
I wasn't here when you did.
let's get that Candy Park back, but I got a phone call on that and I told him, I don't know where he's at on that. Okay, move it up the list then. Okay. Okay, miscellaneous, we have a permit from the bars for what time?
4th of July.
July, okay.
There's a copy of all the permits stapled together for each year.
That's the
This is, you approve this annually.
insurance, with insurance and everything,
Yes,
it's all right, all in order?
yes.
Okay. Insurance, the main one,
anytime.
So when we do these outdoor liquor sales, are they limited to plastic and aluminum only, or are they run glass?
You know, they plastic for drinks, they cannot.
The one that I would note is for the alibi, they've got the 5th listed. I think we need to cross that out for our previous conversations.
They would be the only ones selling the 5th according to all these permits.
Some are going open to close, some are going to 10 o'clock, some are going to midnight, some are going to 1 AM.
We can't go past 2 p.m.
We don't have 2 o'clock, nobody pays for a license at 2 o'clock, so, yeah, not doing it.
If somebody makes that motion, because you're not gonna approve the 5th street dance at this point in time, but you may want to amend the motion to say that the alibi can have theirs on the 4th like everybody else.
They applied for the 4th.
What did they?
Yeah, they applied for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Okay. Very good.
I make a motion to approve all of the permits with the exception of making the one change to the alibi, so that it is the 3rd and 4th, and crossing out the 5th.
I second that.
By Councilor Skrillex, supported by Councilor Horn to approve the permits for the 3rd and 4th for the bar establishments on Gilbert's Main Street. Due to everything is in order, insurance wise, and all other waivers that the city of Gilbert needs for liability protection. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. KH easement.
Okay, the city's currently involved in litigation with, one of our community members. They changed the sewer line and there's a neighboring lot on these people's property. There was already an existing sewer line on the lot, so the lot's not a buildable lot, nor was it ever a buildable lot. But the city somehow moved the wastewater line over and did an improvement, but they did not have that person's approval or an easement put in place. The League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust has taken over this litigation, but for us to move forward with it, they want the council to empower me to work with them to come up with a suitable number for paying for that easement. And along with that, they want us to take care of the lot, because when they did the digging, they left it kind of rough. So they'd like some black dirt, and they'd like the lawn restored. We've got some trees down. Those would have to be restored too. Sam and I have discussed his efforts and what it would take for them to do it, but for us to move forward and continue to have the League Insurance Trust attorney handle this thing, we need to give me the authority to spend a certain amount of money on that easement. After talking with an engineer and talking with Brian, I would like you guys to consider that the maximum amount that we would spend would be $5,000. I'd like to see us be able to do it for 2 to 3. What this lawsuit is substantial, and the city made a mistake. They were told what they were doing, they chose to do it anyhow. We're in the middle of this and it needs to be solved. If we don't approve this, then the league will give up on it. And we're running into some situations where notifications have been made to the city. And if we don't follow the timeline, they'll automatically win, like what's it, $40,000 or something?
You wouldn't, you're right. It likely wouldn't be that much,
But nonetheless, we would. Go ahead, Brian. No, that's all said.
Yeah,
I step out the chair and make a motion to approve city administrator, city attorney, League of Minnesota Cities to deal with this issue in a fair and proper manner for both parties, and I apologize for that situation being done a couple years back already now.
Correct.
Remember? And I will proving that you work on it and get it done fair for the city of Gilbert and for the property owner. In some fair, reasonable, negotiable manner.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
You got a motion and a second for Mr. Miller. Any discussion?
So the question I have for the attorney is, so this basically seems like it's going towards a track towards a settlement agreement, essentially, if this is done correctly, is that my understanding?
There's gonna be an attempt to settle, there will be a mediation.
Okay, so this would be essentially helping us to get to that point, to come to a resolution that would be amenable to the homeowner and minimize the risk to the city. Okay, thank you. Will we have to vote on that when that comes up, or is it just going to go forward?
It'll go forward. It'll come to us. If we go into mediation, I don't believe we'll have any recourse, or will we, Brian?
So if we go into, so mediation isn't a forced settlement, it's if the parties agree. So what the result of the mediation would be, if an agreement is reached, it would come back to the council for final agreement.
Thank you, Paul. And at that time, you're still,
Doesn't say that the whole amount is not a hard obligation, it's part of the league's insurance. There's a deductible, you'll pay it all. You don't know yet.
Well,
we're gonna pay for the easement.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? Motion carries unanimous. 5-0.
Good, okay, purchase of, side-by-side. Police department.
I mean, if you had a chance to look at the letter, it's pretty substantial. To try to put it the best I can, this doesn't cost the city any money, basically. We're paying for it with any money that we have shortfalls from. The ATVs that we bought were bought with grant money, we sold them. We'll be selling, if you approve it, to sell the 2013 side-by-side. That money will be used towards it. The money from the Blazer, because we'll use that for response to waste street fire rather than the Blazer. And any money that it costs, like I said, stated as high as 5,000, I don't see exceeding 4,000, even 3,000. That would be used coming out of the drug forfeiture fund. The drug forfeiture fund can be used for equipment. So that's one of the statutory limitations in regards to using drug forfeiture money.
So the purchase price on this, I believe, is what, $27,215?
Yes, that's the government pricing, almost $3,000 off our price. So,
And thank you for having 3 bids in there.
yes, that would be honest, yes. We also, ironically, last week we forfeited a $35,000 ATV in 2015, so that'll be paying forfeiture too, and that would be used for sale, if there's, depending on if there's loans or liens against that machine, so you don't know that yet, so. So it's been a productive year for ATV patrol.
I would just like to say thank you for providing a very detailed explanation of your plan for this. It's very helpful.
It's probably a little confusing too, so.
I'm the numbers, well, that works for me.
When you retire, do you want to come work for me?
No, it's not very organized.
Absolutely. Don't even lie. Let's see my reports.
Move to approve.
We want to make a motion to approve.
I second.
Motion by who?
Aye.
Motion by Councilor Bertocci, supported by Councilor Hart to approve the purchase of the side-by-side for the police department by Jude Teacher. They have an amount, which is now,
Roughly 29.75.
$27,215.
27,215. More discussion.
I just have one question. You said something about they use it to drag the fields. Is that still what's done with those forwards? Just drag the ball field?
So last year we sold one of the 2 red ATVs. $4,000 at sale, the city bought the ATV through the recreation fund to drag the fields and stuff. they still use one of our ATVs in the kids, but there's actually a designated ATV grant ATV that's used for dragging the fields. But the city did pay a fair market value for that,
Oh,
for the recreation fund, so.
okay, thank you.
All fair say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Yeah, and one more thing, Mayor, I'll be putting the other ATV in bid. When I put that on, it'll be Thursday or Friday, in regards to that, compactor, is there a minimum bid the council would like on that? For reserve?
No idea.
what it's worth.
Ask Sam about that.
Okay, you're okay with me asking Sam what he thinks?
We're looking on the internet at different compactors and stuff like that, and those types of things, $5,000 is cheap price for some of those.
So if I put a reserve of 2,000 or more,
I can't answer that.
I don't know even what compactors.
At the end of the day, if no one's gonna bid on it, how else are we gonna sell it? When we're gonna use it?
Scrap.
I think it's a low reserve would be, you may not even get an offer.
Just like for
Maybe
reserve.
no reserve, maybe just best offer, I don't know.
In my head, not knowing anything about them, I'd say $2,000 to $3,000. I consult with Sandy, see if he,
Cause you can get reasonable, you can get one for $3,000 on a lower horsepower, they're not that expensive.
This would be,
Yeah, but it's a big one.
This one's big and it's on 3 days power, it's pretty good.
that was not.
Talk to Sam about that now.
So I just give you discretion, I think we should work on it, just,
Yeah.
I'll try to get the most I can for you.
Well, who's gonna take it, and who's gonna transport it?
So to the
They
buyer,
want the biohazard.
yeah, buyer.
My anticipation would be a recycling firm or another city plant, so.
Do we know when the last time it's ran? Like, is it ever?
when Julie started, that was her job to run that. And she said it was just a full-time job. She couldn't even deal with her sewer work. It was a full-time job, so that's pretty much why the guy lost it.
Was it the recyclers really? Not using.
And I think Julie's been there like 20 years, so probably 20 years.
Okay, you have them GS splashdown approval for Lake Oregon. I also see that you're written a paper with New Virginia too. Silver Lake.
Oh, no, that's a splash pad.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna use it.
That brings up something, because didn't Wendy collect money for a splash pad? There was donations. Whatever happened to that donated money?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in this room can answer that question.
Right, yeah.
So that was her last paycheck.
I don't know.
I guess,
So the splash pad is the beautiful thing.
yeah.
Maybe that has to be looked into, and I don't know by who. But I know she was collecting money, and I don't even know what the amount she had at the time when.
Was that for Virginia, for
No,
us?
it's for us. She was collecting money for a splash pad down by the campground. On her own, she decided to
Which was never
collect
approved,
money. It was never.
which was never approved by the council.
No.
And that's a big investment.
Yeah, and I don't know. how much
Top
she
of the water with
collected, but I
an
know
underground
she
tank, I
collected some.
mean, 200,000-300,000 is
Oh, yeah.
the starting point.
Oh, yeah.
I think they understand that already.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead.
Shed is down there, right?
I'm gonna go ahead and
Because
make a motion to approve the splash town agreement. But I would like to have a conversation about the term and license price.
We raised it last year.
So what is it now?
It's $150 per month.
For a month.
Last year it was $150 per year.
Okay.
I guess and I just wanna, I don't really have an opinion on this. I do wanna raise the issue of what we charge for monthly rent in that area. A campsite monthly rental is $600 a month. So, and they get a footprint that's larger than a campsite, and they use electricity, and they use city resources in terms of police calls.
They have their own electricity, their own generator, because we don't supply them.
Well, even so, there's still traffic.
No, I just saying, I'm
So,
just telling you.
So that's the only piece that I want to, if we're gonna be comparative to other things that we're charging in the city.
Well, we gotta have the details of approval here.
So you wanna raise it to like 200 a month, you know? Or what? It's 150 now, and like 200. Or what?
2 years ago was 150 for the season. Last year we went to 150 a month. And you guys need to decide what you want per month this year. The contract's still the same, it's the monthly fee.
And pay city hall.
Yeah.
And then there was a clause in there about them cleaning up the garbage, is that?
We're fine.
Yeah.
So then I guess the question that I have to tie is about the police calls that we've had down there. So they're just the congestion. Now, we'll probably have less of that because that beach is not really usable. So, but the splashdown area would be usable. I guess traffic concerns, calls down there.
Last year, we had 3 calls to Splash Town, the rest of the calls were the beach requests.
Okay.
What was the concern, what were the calls about?
I believe one was a domestic, and I can't remember there too.
Something happening, not sure.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Councilor Skirvin to approve the splash pad with $150 a month.
I'm gonna change my motion to $250.
Also, in here, it says this contract expires October 1st, 2023 in the same section.
Fix that.
Perfect.
He came in late this afternoon and was all worried about it. I will say this, I don't believe they're making a substantial amount of money. And I think that
The service where
it's a community thing, it's not a revenue opportunity for us. And I think we're pushing the boundaries of what their cash flow can handle.
You know, whether there's people down the line, because we were going to do this garbage.
So I would make a recommendation, stick with the 150 this year, but notify them that hey, next year we are doing this. Because as a business owner, their season starts shortly. If you didn't plan the rent increase last second, as a business owner, that's because they are bringing people in.
They are.
That's not.
I don't have.
And at the end of the day, $50 for 4 months is really worth it.
So 150 for the motion.
150, but let's 150 per month. But let's make sure.
all the insurance that get in here, insurance.
That's that. And they have to go first.
I didn't hear a second on that motion, we still have discussion, who seconded the motion?
So what was the motion? I made a motion to accept the contract now we've had this conversation at 150.
I'll second that at 150 with updates to dates and everything else.
Motion by Councilor Skirvin, support by Councilor Horn to approve the splash pad, splash town approval for Lake Orpington by the city and splash town with the terms in the agreement with insurance and $150 a month. Mental, or whatever you want to call it, what do you want to call it? Money to the city for approving this, being down there, I guess.
We do charge them for garbage service and other things that go on there, so. They take care of that.
And a positive, they always show up parking, with boat parking and stuff, and now that the boat launch is closed, they'll have better parking access. That's a plus.
Insurance is a big one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Last thing, any miscellaneous, other than that special or recess this meeting, or adjourn this meeting, whatever. I think it's
Special
well,
meeting.
This, do the special, like we did, 10, what is it, 1:30?
I make a motion to set a special meeting on Friday, the 13th at 1:30 p.m.
do we have a second on that?
I second that.
Do we need to say what it's for?
Yes.
It would be,
Motion,
yes.
motion for to say what
To
it's for.
consider the fire department costs.
One issue on that, whatever issue is gonna be specified. Motion by Councilor Skirvik, supported by Councilor Moore to set a special session for the council on June 13th, Friday at 1:30, specific for consideration of the purchase of air packs for the fire department. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Did I get a second on that?
Don't say.
Okay, now we can, no miscellaneous, we can adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Moved by Councilor Skirvik, supported by Councilor Hart to adjourn at 8:52. All in favor, say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Good night.